Okay, now we want to consider the uncovered interest parity condition in a different way, in the sense that let's assume that the exchange rate it is this way. We know it depends on the ratio between the national and the foreign interest rate times the expectation at time t plus 1. But this relation holds between time t and time t plus 1. This relation should also hold between time t plus 1 and time t plus 2. So we know that the future exchange rate at t plus 1, which is an expectation, will depend on the expectation of the exchange rate after 2 periods, so et plus 2 expected. But in this case, the interest rate that we have to use to represent the uncovered interest parity condition is the future interest rate. So the interest rate that will prevail next year, so an annual interest rate next year. So we have, for example, the national future interest rate would be ET plus 1, but this is an expectation because it's a future interest rate, and the foreign interest rate will be E dollar expected at time t plus 1. So this is an expectation, this is an expectation, this one in two interest rate used in this case. So substituting this second in expectation at time t plus 1 in the first equation, we obtain the following relation. This relation is useful to understand that now the exchange rate at time t depends on the future exchange rate after 2 periods, and will depend on the current interest rates, annual interest rate, and the future annual interest rates mentioned before. We can continue. This expectation may be expressed in terms of uncovered interest parity condition, as this equation here states. In this case, we need to consider the expected exchange rate after 2 periods, and we have to use the annual interest rate that we expect to prevail after 2 periods. So in this case, we have the national interest rate ET plus 2 expected, and the foreign interest rate, this one, expected after 2 periods. Again, if we substitute this expectation here, we obtain this equation. Here, again, we have the expectation after 2 period, we have the current interest rate, the interest rate next year, and the interest rate after 2 periods, and our expectations. In general, in this case, the relation may be expressed using this formula here. Here we have the exchange rate after, in general, n period, the expected exchange rate, affecting the current side of the exchange rate, and all the interest rate, the current interest rates, the interest rate after is I, after 1 year, after 2 years, and so on, and the final interest rates after t plus, so in the previous period, respect to the expected exchange rate.